What's good, R&B squad? This is Heart of Ruth. I trust that this message meets you guys in good spirits. If you are new here, welcome. We're happy to have you, and Jesus is, of course, always happier. So the word I have today comes from a dream. It can be for two. It's a two-part dream, so it's a two-part word. There are two messages in here. They're very similar. They can be for the same groups of people, or they can be for different groups of people. Now, as you listen, you're going to receive confirmation in there. There should be at least one or more than one confirmation in there that this word is for you. If only some things apply to you and others don't, you know how we do it here: eat the meat and spit out the bone, okay? So, in the first dream, I saw this apartment and I saw this door, and it looked as though a note had been slid underneath the door to the apartment. So this woman notices that it's there, and she goes and she retrieves it. Now, when she opens it up, one of the things that I noticed is that the note was very dirty. And I had the sense that it had been there for some time and she hadn't noticed that it was there. Now, on the back of the note, there was a name written. The name started with the letter I. I did not make out the full name, but it started with the letter I. And on the front of the note, there was a contact number to reach the person who had left the note. Now, I had the sense that this name at the back of the note, that it wasn't the person's actual name, that this was some sort of code name, but it wasn't the name that the person actually went by, the person who had put the number in the note, okay? And I also had the sense that the woman knew whom the contact number was from, and she knew that that name at the back was just a code name. It might have been a nickname, it might have been a name that they use as a code, but it wasn't the person's actual name. Now, what that could look like in waking life for some of you is that you might actually, the person that you receive this information from, this contact number, their name might actually start with the letter I, or they could have a nickname or a code name that you use for them that starts with the letter I, but you're going to know whom this note is from, whom this letter is from, okay? And again, what that could look like in waking life is that you might get a letter in the mail. This person may have mailed you a letter, and the fact that it looked dirty and like it had been there for a while, this person may have mailed you a letter months ago, weeks ago, and you haven't received it yet because it got stuck at the post office, or because somebody else opened your mail and then put it back where you could find it. But either way, for some of you, communication is going to come in the form of a note or a letter. There is going to be a contact number in there or contact information in there for you to contact this person. And I had the sense that this was this woman's person. This was the person that God ordained for her to marry. And she didn't have any contact for this person for quite some time and did not know how to reach him. And this was his way of reaching out to her and letting her know how to reach him with this number that she did not previously have. Okay. So the other part of the dream involved this man and this woman, and they were talking via phone. So the man contacted the woman and he's talking to her. And while he's talking to her, she recognized his voice immediately, but she acted like she didn't. So the entire conversation, well, not the entire conversation, but for the greater part of the conversation, she's clowning him and acting like she doesn't know his voice. And I had the feeling, and before I tell you guys what the feeling was, for those of you who are new, the Lord allows me to sense what these people are feeling and what they're thinking in these dreams that I have, okay? So for her, I got the feeling, the impression that she hadn't been in contact with this person for a while. They'd been in separation. He hadn't reached out to her for a while. And so that is why she was clowning him and acting like she didn't recognize his voice, because she was upset. She was a little bit ruffled by the fact that it took him this long to contact her. But the guy was very gracious about it. He did not seem to be upset about the fact that she was clowning him. And eventually he said to her, "Don't you know who this is? This is," and he said his name. Okay? And that was the end of that dream. So for the persons whom this is for, the bottom line is communication is coming. It's going to come in one way or the other. If you have lost contact with your person, the person that God ordained for you to marry, Communication is coming. Some of you are going to get a letter in the mail and realize that that letter was sent to you months ago or weeks ago. Some of you are going to get a direct phone call from this person. Now, when this person contacts you, please do not clown him or her. Okay? Don't do that. Because I had the sense that this guy was already embarrassed about the fact that he'd stayed away for so long and that he hadn't reached out to her before. And I also had the sense that it wasn't something that he did deliberately. There were circumstances that prevented him from reaching out before. Okay, so don't clown the person when they call, all right? I love you guys. I will be back with another word as soon as the Lord releases me. Take care.